I'd really like to welcome Deborah. Hello, Deborah. Hello, lovely for you to join us this morning. I know we caught you a little bit unaware.
Yeah, I'm a little bit under the weather, so you have to excuse me if I start coughing my guts up live on air.
Oh, bless you. Well, you look fabulous.
That is a very quick 5 minutes ago. As you well know, I was in bed pretty much, non-brushed hair, no makeup, and I suddenly realised that actually there was a camera involved, and I suddenly just ran, got my lipstick, and ran, put some clothes on actually.
Oh, well, clothes is, kind of good. I wish I could do my face like that in 5 minutes and lit that grid. So it's brilliant. Thank you so much for being with us. So let's start with telling our little members who are you? A little bit about you.
Cool. Well, who am I? That's a good question. So, I'm Deborah. I'm Deborah James. I'm 36 years old, and I'm a mum of two. So I've got two little monsters. One's 10 years old, and one's 8. And up until a year ago, I would have then introduced myself as a deputy head teacher of a secondary school. So I've worked in education for about 15 years, and love that role. And then my entire world got turned upside down. Almost a year to the day when I was diagnosed with stage 4 bowel cancer. So now I spend a lot of my time kind of being very honest about my journey with cancer. And I now write a column about my cancer and raise awareness that you're never too young to have bowel cancer.
Yeah, because I think that can be a big misconception sometimes with people, that they just think at a young age it won't happen, and that we're here to bring up our children and that journey is not going to happen along the way. And on social media, I have been stalking you slightly because you are fabulous on there. I particularly do enjoy your Instagram, and you're affectionately known as Bowelbabe.
Yeah, she's way cooler than me. So it's basically when I was first diagnosed with cancer, it's really difficult to people want to follow your story, and they want to. This is friends and family. They want to find out how you are. But if you're like me, you can find it quite difficult to actually express what you're going through and how you feel. So I started writing a blog. And I just decided to create a character, and her name was Bowelbabe. And the reason that I created her was because I figured that actually the image of bowel cancer is very much somebody who's in their late 60s, and that's the average age that you're diagnosed. It's mainly blokes. It's not, funny enough, statistically, it's 1 in 17 men and 1 in 19 female.
Really?
But there is this image that is this older weight bloke. And I kind of figured that actually, hang on, I'm 35. I was working out kind of 5 times a week. I like hair, and I like looking after my hair, and like clothes, and I like makeup. And so I kind of figured that if you're going to create a character that's going to be the total opposite to what the image of bowel cancer, it would be Bowelbabe. And she's way cooler.
I think she's really cool. I particularly liked her little Christmas dancing the other day with the girls that I saw. I thought that was really, really nice to do. And you mentioned... go on.
We like our dancing. My children like the dancing.
It's fun.
We were doing that before we were Bowelbabe.
Yeah. It's really good to see, and that's one of the things I wanted to ask you is, being a mum and being diagnosed at such a young age, how did you explain it to them, about cancer?
Yes. So to be honest with you, it's probably one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do, is tell, I think, for any mum listening who's maybe been in this situation where you've got cancer or not cancer or any kind of illness, or you've got to go in for an operation or whatever it might be, one of the hardest things to do is to tell your children, and they're petrified because the reality is, regardless of how old they are, they watch movies where mums die of cancer in those movies. And I can't promise them it's going to be okay, because statistics will tell you that I'm not going to be okay. And actually, therefore, all I can say is that the doctors, which is what they've said to me, will do everything that they can to ensure that, we won't use the word cure, but to ensure that we prolong my life as long as possible.
Yeah, and do you think that helped them? Have you done different things with them to help you along this journey? And do you think being part of it and part of the social media, and part of this big awareness campaign has helped them?
Yeah, for our family, that's worked really well. I appreciate it's not for everybody, and I'm fully aware that the whole social media thing isn't everybody's cup of tea. I have people that come to me that basically have lived with a cancer secret, if you want to say that, for years and years and years. And I know people have to be ready to be very open about it, and I'm not saying it's the only way forward. For us, being very open with our children, or me being very open with my kids about my cancer, has helped us accept it. So it's kind of just part of our life. So sadly, my kids actually think cancer is quite cool. Obviously, they're scared about what might happen.
Yeah.
But they've suddenly gained a mum, because I was a full-time working mum, as many people are. I was leaving home at 7, coming back at 7, knackered, grumpy, angry. And suddenly I have cancer, and I can't. I'm on a bit of sabbatical at the moment. I can't continue to hold that job on the front line, because it's just not fair on the kids.
No.
And so therefore, as a result, suddenly I pick them up from school and they think it's great. So for them, they ask me about chemo. I've taken them to chemo before as well.
Yeah.
And I was a bit apprehensive about that. And actually my oncologist said that it's a really, really good thing to do, because it demystifies the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when they see it, it's not as scary. It's actually quite, the wards where you have chemo, the nurses are amazing at the Marsden where I'm treated, and everything's quite a happy place. So therefore, actually, them seeing that means that they're not scared every time mummy goes to have chemo.
Yeah, and they're part of it, I suppose, which gives them a little bit of control in a way to see what's going on and feel like they are involved, which I can see probably would be helpful to them. Well, I do have to ask as well. So I have seen lots of awareness pictures and all sorts of things. And some very tasteful, I will precursor it, tasteful pictures of gorgeously you showing your scars, but in your underwear. So what were the kids' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think at first they're like, "Mummy, why are you in your underwear again?" So my view. So ask me a year ago, as a deputy head teacher of secondary school, would you ever get naked in your underwear? Would you ever get your arse out, or would you ever be standing there in your underwear? And I'll be absolutely no way. The reality is that I'm aware that I want to grab attention, so I'm not going to be naive about that, and I'm going to use every ability to grab attention that I can, because I want to raise a message, or I want to raise awareness of a message. And I was involved with a wonderful photographer called Sophie Mayan, who basically was part of the Behind the Scars project, which is actually all about celebrating scars that we have, our kind of natural bodies, what they go through, the kind of the journey that they've been through, and actually meeting her and being photographed with her, in my underwear, has enabled me to actually be pretty proud of it. And you know what? I kind of at first I just think, wow, I've got my bum out and in the sun as well, and I was thinking that's quite brave. At the same time, if I look at my daughter and I look at, say, what kind of confidence do I want my 8-year-old to have? And I want her to know that actually, not to parade around in her underwear, but at the same time to be able to feel it's okay not to be airbrushed or perfect, or have, it's okay to have scars, and it's okay to actually, you can still be beautiful and sexy and whatever in your own way. So actually, I think that's probably the message.
I think they were incredibly empowering. I think they empowered people out there as well to allow cancer to be seen and scars to be seen. And actually, it can be so beautiful and empowering for people and girls around you. So I think brilliant to you. Well done. I think it's great. So I think the next thing is you are bringing such awareness. Is that something that you really wanted? Was that something from the beginning you thought you wanted to do, or has that developed over your journey?
Yeah, so I think it's one of my biggest frustrations when I was first diagnosed is I was a self-confessed hypochondriac who basically would have Googled absolutely everything. And even I didn't Google bowel cancer. So for me not to have Googled bowel cancer means that clearly the awareness wasn't quite where it needs to be, because I Googled brain tumours, I Googled breast cancer, but I didn't Google bowel cancer. And I think one of the biggest frustrations for me is I was diagnosed late, and it took 6 months for me to be diagnosed. And as a result, it spread to my lungs, which has meant that I've undergone lots of operations and I'm still on chemotherapy. So for me, one of the biggest things is actually bowel cancer is the most treatable, one of the most treatable cancers, even to the point that if it's caught as stage 1 and stage 2, in most cases you don't even need to have chemotherapy. You can actually just have an operation, albeit a major operation, where you resect your bowel. But that's normally the end of it. In most cases, the survival rates for stage 1 and 2 are huge. So keeping in mind that most people are older when they're diagnosed, over 90% of people survive at stage 1, over 80% of people survive at stage 2, and that's kind of all factors considered, and that's people who are in their 80s being diagnosed. It then drops dramatically. So I'm stage 4, and less than 1 in 10 people survive for 5 years at stage 4. And it's all about screening, it's all about early diagnosis, and it's about knowing what the symptoms are. So for me, raising awareness has been absolutely key to ensuring that nobody else needs to go through what I'm going through, because chemo isn't great.
And you're doing such a great job with that as well. I think, you're looking at your following on Instagram and social medias across the board. And I saw recently you were at an event as well with Leslie Garrett, and all sorts of opportunities have come up. So tell us a little bit about these.
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. Apologies for me coughing my guts up.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah, so basically, I work really closely with a couple of charities, and the main one being Bowel Cancer UK, who I think are just absolutely incredible. And they mainly use their money to fund research into ensuring that early diagnosis can happen, and a variety of different things. They have lots of different campaigns, one of which is the Never Too Young campaign. But through them, I get involved with lots of different things, lots of different fundraising, and I was at their annual carol concert on Thursday, and Leslie Garrett was singing there. She's amazing, alongside the Fortune Tellers, who are great. So if you haven't heard of them, definitely check them out. And I got to give the address this year, which was lovely. And the thing that was amazing about that evening was actually meeting lots of other people who. There's actually a picture on my Instagram. We all look the same. We're all in our 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
We all have stage 3 or 4 bowel cancer. And we've been kind of communicating through Instagram. And it was very nice to actually finally meet people in real life.
Yeah, in flesh, and see them and talk to them and share with each other, I imagine. Wonderful. So on this journey that you're in, I know you're in this journey, so it's quite hard to be reflective, but what positives so far have you taken out of it?
Yeah, so my whole life has changed without a shadow of a doubt. And there are some positives, and I've been very honest about this in terms of, I think, by my own admission, I had my life balance very wrong. My priorities were my work, and not my health and not my family. And I would say that, and not my children actually. And I say that to them, my priority was head down, get my job done, highly ambitious. And I would say that actually, I wasn't, I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm quite a competitive kind of person. I wasn't like a natural earth mother, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I kind of, asked me to change a nappy, and I vomit as I'm changing the nappy. And I'm amazed at how my children are so well rounded. I am quite surprised half the time. But I think, funny enough, I'm now learning probably more to be a mum. But this is 10 years later. So I never kind of, I was never very good at doing the whole baby thing, and I'm now doing it. I'm now enjoying it, actually.
Yeah, that's so nice to hear. And
which is lovely to hear.
Yeah. What's next for you then? What's next on this journey? Is it more discovery, trying to weigh more? What's going to happen next?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, survive generally.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's the main aim. So, what's next for me? So, I am still on chemotherapy. So, I've been on chemotherapy for nearly a year. I've just had my 17th cycle a couple of days ago. Hence why I look like a mess. I think I put on Instagram this morning chemo stomach alongside steroid low alongside flu is what I'm basically dealing with right now. But there's not really a plan. People say, well, what is the plan? And I understand, what is the plan? The plan is basically to continue with chemotherapy till possibly I can have some ablation on my lungs. So I still have some tumours left in my lungs, and we're hoping to ablate them in the new year. But I think I'm learning to roll with it. I never know that by the time I get to a scan in the new year, we could be dealing with something else. So I have to learn to kind of celebrate the little things and then expect the bumpy road. But in terms of like, because I'm still undergoing treatment, I'm kind of throwing myself even more into writing. I'm really enjoying writing my column every week, and I think that reaches quite a lot of people in terms of being able to raise awareness, not just of bowel cancer, but for other things that are close to my heart. And then I really enjoy the whole Instagram world, actually. I kind of find that for me, I've met some wonderful people who actually just want to show the reality of what this is, what stage 4 cancer looks like. And you don't find that in a book anywhere.
No, you can't, can you? It's not possible. It's, pictures says 1,000 words, as they say. So that's where Instagram is so helpful.
It's so helpful, and I think it's so helpful just to have other people that you can turn to say, well, I walk, I think excuse me, I'm really sorry. I think a few days ago, I'm walking around my living room at 3 o'clock in the morning, lunging because my steroids have made me totally hyper. And I think that's the reality of kind of chemotherapy that nobody will write down for you. And I think so for me, there's a whole gap in the market that people are filling and trying to fill on looks. Everyone's like, oh, you haven't lost your hair yet. What beauty, but what do you mean you can still have a manicure? Well, yeah, of course I can have a manicure. There's like a whole kind of strand of looking good, feeling better, living with cancer, and that I think people are doing some really good stuff, but I think we can do a lot more with.
I really like that. I think that's such a positive place to come from as well, and will help so many to take the scare out of it maybe as well, and just allow you to express yourself and have those answers. So after listening to today, I know our listeners are going to be absolutely inspired to find out more about Deborah James. So where can they find you? How can they stalk you a little bit?
Absolutely. So please contact me and share your stories, because I love to hear other people's stories, and positive stories as well. Definitely. Like I love to hear, stories of somebody that was diagnosed 10 years ago and still going strong, or whatever it might be. So on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, so I have a Facebook community. It's all under Bowelbabe. So if you look up Bowelbabe,
love it.
There's 3 different things there. And then every week in the Sun online, under the fabulous section. So if you go to the website, I normally push it out through my Instagram and my Facebook, but I have a column. It's called Things Cancer Made Me See, and it basically documents my journey through that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Deborah, for joining us today. We wish you all the best with your journey, and here at Mum Say, we will continue to follow you and wish you and your children and your gorgeous family all the luck in the world with it. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. It's been a delight.
No, thanks for having me.
So much. Take care, Deborah. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
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 Bye.